I knew it. I knew it. Them damn Steelers didn't end up perfect after all. They lost the game this season. We'll talk about that. Plus, Kyrie Irving has a problem with the media. And LeBron James got a problem with Kyrie. Go figure. And of course, have you heard the news? James Harden wants out of Houston. Evidently by any means necessary. Lots to talk about. First take in the house. Let's go.
We're not chasing perfection in terms of 16-0. We're chasing Lombardis.
Throws it to the left side of the end zone. Touchdown. Deontay Johnson. He steps out of one, steps out of two, into the end zone. The Steelers double their lead.
And a Barber in. Touchdown. Throws to Logan Thomas. Wide open. Washington has their first lead of the game. Tipped up in the air and intercepted. Washington has knocked off the last unbeaten in the NFL.
Possession down ball was heavy in this football game, and we paid the consequences of it, a failure in it, such as life in our game. I'm excited about facing the adversity of losing with this group, man, and smiling in the face of it and preparing and getting ready for our next challenge.
Stephen A., I don't know what happened yesterday. Your Steelers are no longer undefeated at the hands of all teams. Washington blowing a 14-point lead. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take. Max Kellerman, Stephen A. Smith. I'm Molly Karam Rose. Stephen A., was this actually a good thing for your Steelers?
Well, first of all, good morning. Good morning. I see that you transitioned from the fly outfits to the sweater look. Just as fly way to go. Max Kellerman, Matrix today. All right. We'll work with it. Anyway, here's the deal. I love the fact that the Steelers lost. It doesn't bother me at all. I knew that the perfection that we saw from them record-wise was not real. We've seen holes in their team on too many occasions where wins were too rough to come by. And yesterday, losing to the Washington Redskins, the Washington football team, the one that has no name, who used to be called the Redskins but is no longer. That football team, I love the fact that the Steelers lost this game because, again, they've looked absolutely awful in their last two games. Obviously, scheduling has a lot to do with that. Big Ben Roethlisberger hasn't looked that impressive. Their running game is virtually non-existent without James Conner, and with them, I'd consider it average. And so when I look at it from that perspective, I like the fact that they lost this game because guess what? You're on notice. You might be 11-1, but you can do all of this for naught. You can get to the postseason and then get bounced out in the very first round, not even make it to a divisional playoff game. Why? Because you look like hot trash. This is the bottom line with the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. On the defensive side of the ball, we have to understand something. Devin Bush goes down for the season early in the year. Obviously, Bud Dupree went down last week. This kid Spillane that replaced Devin Bush, now he might be out. So they're compromised in their linebacking core, and we understand that some of the better teams in the NFL are going to take advantage of that, which is what you end up facing come postseason time, which puts more pressure on your offense to show up and produce. You got Big Ben Roethlisberger, can't be making mistakes. You sitting there, you going wide at 5 wide with Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, James Washington, Claypool and the crew, Eric Ebron. You got to show up. You got to produce because it's going to come down to the Steelers offense and specifically their ability to throw the football with a minimal amount of mistakes in order to give them the chance that their record says they deserve in order to get to the AFC Championship game and ultimately the Super Bowl. I haven't seen that from them the last few weeks. We certainly haven't seen it from them the last 2 games. And as a result, they got their comeuppance. I think ultimately the loss will be good for them. Not what you said, Max, last week in terms of their struggles, but it was a wake-up call. I said, no. They need to lose, okay? Because they ain't no 16-0 quality team. They ain't no 15-1 quality team as far as I'm concerned. And that reared its ugly head yesterday afternoon. I'm happy about the loss, to be honest with you. Now we can get on with the season and really preparing ourselves for the postseason.
No, it's an understandable loss, but that's not the same thing as saying it's a good loss. You play 3 times in 13 days. It's understandable that you lose. You play right after you beat Baltimore, your chief rival. It's understandable that you lose. You play on a short week after having no bye for forever because your schedule got messed around twice because of the Titans and the Ravens COVID outbreaks. It's understandable that you lose. You play a Washington team that has a bad record and is frankly underrated with a backup quarterback who we thought his career was over and he might lose his leg. It's understandable that you lose, but it's a bad loss. It's not a good loss. The reason it's a bad loss is because it was obviously a trap game for all the reasons I just said. And a special team needs to know how to overcome that, especially after the Ravens. They were lucky. I thought that was such a great win for them against Baltimore because they beat the backups, right? Like, they beat a depleted Baltimore team, but it was really tough, and Coach Tomlin basically chewed them out to the media after the game. So I thought, oh, okay, they can't rest on their laurels. They understand they played poorly, and they have a lot to correct facing a Washington team that's been playing better, like the Giants, as the season goes on. Right? Like Ron Rivera, you've been talking about Joe Judge and the NFC East, the two teams that were considered to be the bottom feeders of the bottom feeding division, in fact, had a culture change on the top, and it's doing them well. So you knew this could be a trap game, and you had to avoid it. And Stephen A., they were avoiding it. They had the game in hand. Pittsburgh was going to win this game. And they allowed playmakers, Alex Smith, who was once the first pick in the draft, on the other side of the ball to outplay them. Roethlisberger did not look good, and he hasn't really looked good recently. He's regressed as the season went on. Understandable, again, coming off a catastrophic injury, 38 years old, by and large, has had a very good season considering, but hasn't looked great recently. The run game. Here's the worst part about the loss, Stephen A. They ran the ball, what was it, 14 times?
21 yards.
21 yards.
21 yards.
That's you run the ball 14 times, you get 21 yards on the ground. That's bad run blocking. That's losing the battle up front. That Pittsburgh can't be that kind of team. Pittsburgh has to be the kind of team that's going to beat you in 2 of the 3 phases of the game. They have to be better than they were yesterday. I understand why they lost. But because we knew all that going in, and so did they, and they had the game in hand, that's a bad loss.
Max Kellerman, right now, the Steelers rank 29th in the league in rushing. These are the Steelers we're talking about here. Can you tell me any time in their history that you can recall that they've ranked that low, running the football? It just doesn't happen. Now, we understand we understand even with Le'Veon Bell, their running game per se is as good as it was, may not have been quote unquote elite because they always threw the football since Big Ben Roethlisberger has arrived, for the most part anyway. We understand that. All I'm saying is that they've always been able to run the football. That has not been the case. It isn't the case now, which puts even more pressure, not just on the arm, but the decision-making of Ben Roethlisberger in terms of making sure you minimize the mistakes and get the ball to just the numerous number of receivers that you have at your disposal. How many teams can say they have 5 dudes that are legitimate, bona fide, big-time targets? I'm talking about Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, James Washington, Deontay Johnson, Eric Ebron. I mean, damn. You got all of these targets, and you know what? I don't blame you for throwing the football. I don't know if you need to throw it 53 times, but I don't blame you for throwing the football 40 times a game. But you've got to minimize the mistakes. And unfortunately, for Big Ben Roethlisberger, it's not that he makes an abundance of them, but it always seems like the mistakes that he makes come at the most ill times. Just ill-timed mistakes, just the wrong time. And that's what really this is about. In the end, what have I said to you? It's about the Steelers. When you get to this point, being 11-0 at the time, chasing an undefeated season or whatever the case may be, Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, all right? Ryan Tannehill with Tennessee, Baker Mayfield in Cleveland coming, Miami coming, Buffalo with Josh Allen coming. Are you sure, Steelers, you're going to be ready? Because I haven't seen that from them the last few weeks, and they got their comeuppance. I have no problem with it. None.
Here are the 2 issues for the Steelers heading into this game. One, you're undefeated. You're relieved as a Steelers fan they got the loss out of the way. But come on, man, they were undefeated going into Week 13. Yeah. Of course that's a big deal that you lose a game. Who wouldn't want to be undefeated? That's one. 2, the question every team in the AFC has to ask, can that beat the Chiefs? You're not going to beat Kansas City running the ball 14 times for 21 yards. And here's the other thing. You think Alex Smith is tough as a playmaker at the end of a game with the game on the line? Oh, Lord. Patrick Mahomes with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce? did the Steelers do anything to make you believe that they could beat Kansas City? Forget about Buffalo or anyone else. Kansas City. The answer yesterday
we'll
was
get
no.
into that later.
Understandable loss, but not a good one.
All right,
Molly?
guys, I will say this, Stephen. Yeah.
Before we go, let me say
Go
this
ahead,
to
Stephen
you.
A.
This is the third season. 2 seasons ago, the Steelers ranked 31st in rushing. Last season, they were 29th. This year, they're 29th. That is not Steeler football. Not to be. What did Tomlin say when he first got the job, Matt?
Yeah.
Yep. Run the ball, stop
Yep.
the run. Steelers
Here we go.
football. Yep.
It's not
I
happening.
will say this really quickly. We're going to transition right now, though, guys. Washington was on 10 days rest between games, while the Steelers just 4 days rest. So it really was a quick turnaround. Something like that hasn't happened in 50 years. So I got to give them that excuse. Let's keep it moving, though. Let's go to the team that they're going to play next, the Bills. That's going to be an interesting game. Buffalo dominating the Niners to snap a Monday Night Football winless streak, defeating the Niners 34-24. Josh Allen played a near perfect game, completing 32 of 40 passes for 375 yards and 4 touchdowns. Max, what do you think here? Is Josh Allen an elite quarterback now?
Yeah, he is. Josh Allen, I think, joined the elite, and I think he joined it with that performance, last night. I think he joined the elite. Guys, because when you say elite, has he won a Super Bowl yet? No, like none of that stuff, right? But when you say elite, you must take a lot of things into consideration. What's the guy's trajectory? Is he likely to continue this? Is this fluky? Is it because of what he has around him, or is it because of his play? I have to say, Josh Allen entered the league as a 22-year-old quarterback. I thought he was drafted too high. I could see he had a big arm, but I was suspicious of his ability to play the position. By the way, I was suspicious of Trubisky. I was suspicious of Lamar Jackson, and some of them have proven me wrong to one degree or another, right? But what I saw with Josh Allen was just a big arm. He had something like 10 touchdowns. I was trying to refer to my notes right as you came to me, Molly. Something like 10 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. It was more interceptions than touchdowns or something close to it. You know, I get it. Then last year, he was better. His completion percentage jumps like 10 points. He's going like from 50 to like 60%, right? Something like that. And his touchdown to interception ratio is nice, and he looks like a solid, ascending, middle-of-the-pack quarterback. And then this year, yeah, he's had some ups and downs along the way, but the man's completing like 70% of his passes. He's among active quarterbacks, because remember, Dak hasn't played in forever. He's top 5 QBR. His touchdown interception ratio has improved again. You can see that it's up on the screen, the passing yards, the touchdowns, the whole thing. Because that QBR, take Dak Prescott out, right? He has barely played. It's top 5, in fact. Yeah, given his age, now 24, who would you take over him in the AFC? I got 2 guys. I'll take Patrick Mahomes over anyone ever. I'll take Deshaun Watson, especially the way he's been playing recently. If you're the 3rd best quarterback in your conference and you're ascending and continually getting better, 24 years old, coming off your best career performance, I have to say you're elite. Josh Allen's an elite quarterback.
I like Josh Allen a lot. I'm very, very fond of him. And I think he has tremendous promise. I'm not willing to give him that yet. I will acknowledge that he's thrown for over 300 yards on 6 times this season. 2 of those times, Max Kellerman, he's thrown for over 400 yards. Do you know who those 400-yard games were against? Miami and Seattle. So I can't ignore what we're seeing from Josh Allen. But with that being said, you know me, it's about what you do when it counts. And I watched him in the playoffs last year against Houston. Yeah, he completed about 52% of his passes, didn't throw an interception, but didn't throw a touchdown either. I want to see what happens when time calls for you to show up and produce. It's nice for you to see what you're doing as a front runner in the AFC East, doing what you've been doing, buffered by that defense and the coaching that you're receiving as well, because I think they're doing a hell of a job. And it doesn't fall on deaf ears that you went from completing 58% of your passes last year to 69% of them this year. That's coaching. That's the kind of stuff that you need to see. And so I'm impressed with it. I just need to see you do it when it counts. Let's see what you do when you go up against New England. All right, because you got another meeting with them coming up this year. Let's see what you do when you go up against Miami again. Let's see what happens come playoff time. Those are the 3 occasions that I'm looking for, and until then, the jury is still out. He's good. I like him. He deserves to be the starting quarterback for the Bills with tremendous promise, no question. But in terms of calling him elite, I'm going to hold out judgment for that. I want to see it first.
Well,
I want to see more evidence.
If you ask me, did he prove he's an elite quarterback, then I would have to agree with you. If it was, did he prove it? Because I would like to wait for the playoffs too. But that's not what I'm saying here. I'm saying right now, you're asking me point blank, do I think right now, not if I can prove it or not, he's elite? My answer is yes. If I can say yes or no, my answer is yes. Stephen A., if you go as a 22-year-old, your touchdown interception ratio is 1-to-1, you have a losing record. As a 23-year-old, it's like, this is generalization, generalizing, like rounding numbers, but 50% completion, 1-to-1 touchdown to interception, losing ratio, losing record, you're 22. At 23, you're 60% completion, you're 2-to-1 touchdown to interception, and you win 10 games. Year 3, you're now 24. You're 3-to-1 touchdown to interception. You're going to win your division, it looks like. You're coming off your career best performance. You have a top 5 QBR, and you're completing 70% of your passes. When I look around the conference, I'd only take 2 guys above you. No, he hasn't won in the playoffs. He hasn't proven it, Stephen A. But do I think he's elite right now? Yes. If I only take 2 guys over you in your conference, yes. And if I asked you, who would you take over him? I'll bet you the answer, if it's top 3, if that makes you elite, I'll bet you your answer is yes, too.
Well, my only retort to you would be, Max Kellerman, is that you once said that about Carson Wentz.
Well, it was true when I said it about him.
Exactly. And then it's not true now, is it? You certainly wouldn't call him elite now, would you?
No,
he
man.
Had his moment. He had his moment.
It's kind of like...
Hold on. The difference between me and you is that you're talking about in the moment, which I respect, because you illuminated that point. I appreciate that. What I'm saying to you is that once I get to that point with you, I ain't trying to go back. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, I want to see it. I want to see it to believe it. And to me, you doing things during the regular season, it's nice. It's good. It seems like you're treading in that direction. But show me a game against the 49ers, even without Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle last night, doesn't exactly tickle my fancy, Max Kellerman. I need to see more. And all I'm saying is, I'm going to watch this guy. I believe in him. I believe in him like you do. But my point is, I still want to see it. I still want to see him do it before I'm even interested in having a conversation about the word elite associated with this young quarterback. I just want to see it. That's all I'm saying.
Like, like Stephen's A list, it's in flux, Stephen A. These things are in flux. And what you're saying is once you're elite, you have to prove it, and you got to stay there, right? Well, I'll say this. My whole point about trajectory is he's so clearly doing it. 50, 60, 70.
Right.
1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1. Like, you could see it, losing, winning, playoffs.
I'm just trying to help you out, bro.
Happening. So, like,
I'm just trying to be there for you. I'm just trying to be there. I'm just trying to be there.
I hear you.
I'm trying to help you.
I appreciate that
oops moment. I'm trying to help you avoid that oops moment. You see what I'm saying? That oops. I want to minimize those. I want to minimize those. You understand what I'm saying? Listen, hey, if you can say oops, whoops or oops, I thought it was oops, but if it was whoops, I think it's oops. But here's the deal. If you can say oops with a 2-time champion and a 2-time MVP in Kawhi Leonard, finals MVP, if you can say whoops or oops with him, imagine what you could say with a Josh Allen or a Carson Wentz.
Let me ask you.
That's all I'm saying.
Is Ben Roethlisberger elite?
I think... You know what? He flows in and out, but
it's in flux.
But wait a minute. Here's the deal. I don't have to call him elite, or I could. Here's the bottom line. He's a 2-time Super Bowl champion with 3 trips to the Super Bowl, and he's been around for over a decade.
Who would you rather have right now? Okay, the playoffs
right now,
are about to start. You can have Roethlisberger or Josh Allen.
Right now, Josh Allen. Right now, Josh Allen. But what I'm saying to you is this. I'm not talking about his ability, which I think you're talking about. I'm talking about resume. And I need to see a better resume. With Ben Roethlisberger, it doesn't matter what he does. He has a resume.
All right, I like this for resume right now, guys. The Buffalo Bills rank first in success rate in passes, third in runs, both better than the Kansas City Chiefs. We got a lot more to get into here, including the NBA.